Welcome back. We're jumping straight into the source material today, and it is a big one. We're looking at a massive release that landed in late November 2025, FLU Bexu 2.
Yep, from Black Forest Labs, or BFL, the original Stable Diffusion creator.
Exactly. And this isn't just an update, it feels more like a paradigm shift. We've been going through the articles, especially the deep economic analysis from binary versus AI.
Right.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We're not just looking at pretty pictures. We need to focus on the cold, hard numbers, the economics, the benchmarks, the pricing, all the things that push AI images from being a fun toy into, serious professional production.
And that's really the core of it. BFL has fundamentally changed the architecture here. We're talking about a 32 billion parameter model. It's huge.
32 billion.
And they're using this open core strategy, which is maybe a little confusing if you're a casual user, but it's genius if you're an accountant. They put out 4 versions, but really we only need to focus on 2.
Okay, which 2?
You've got FLUX Font 2 Dev. That's the open weight one you can download and tinker with, the one engineers love. And then you have FLUX Font 2 Pro. That's the polished API version they want businesses to pay for.
So the free power tool versus the paid, easy-to-use service?
Exactly. That whole dynamic is the economic engine we're really unpacking today.
Okay, but before we dive into cost tables, we have to talk about the value. I mean, what did BFL actually fix that justifies this massive new model? What makes it production ready?
It really all boils down to control and consistency. Those are the 2 things that can absolutely kill a professional workflow.
Right. If it's not reliable, it doesn't matter how good it looks.
Precisely. The sources point to 5 big breakthroughs, but let's just focus on the top 3 that really affect the bottom line. First, and this is the real killer feature, is multi-reference AI support.
Okay, break that down for me.
So, before, if you wanted a character to look the same in 10 different poses, you had to train a special model for days. It was a nightmare. Now you could just give the model up to 10 reference images.
So like a character sheet, a style guide, maybe a lighting setup.
Exactly. And it synthesizes all of that into one coherent output. You get reliable consistency without all the extra work.
That's enormous for any kind of pipeline. Think about a webcomic or a marketing team trying to create thousands of product shots. You need that identity to be consistent.
Absolutely. No more clunky control nets, which was the old solution. The second big thing is the text rendering.
Ah, the classic AI problem. Gibberish text on a beautiful image.
Yeah, we used to get excited when it could just spell coffee correctly. FLUX.2 goes way beyond that. We're talking complex typography, infographics, even UI mockups. It's legible.
That opens up whole new design fields to this stuff.
It does. And the third piece is what's under the hood, the brain behind it all.
They integrated a massive language model, right?
It did. It's all running on top of a specialized vision language model, a VLM called Mistral 3. It's 24 billion parameters on its own.
And why does an image model need that?
It gives it world knowledge. The model can understand complex spatial things, like chairs go on the floor, shadows fall correctly. When you ask for a red ball under a blue table, it actually understands that relationship.
Okay, so the capabilities are there. But let's get to the proof. Subjective quality is one thing, but businesses need hard data. BFL released a ton of benchmarks, and this is where that binary versus AI analysis really comes in handy.
The data is pretty shocking, actually. They ran blind human preference tests, a win rate comparison, pitting FLUX.2 against all the big competitors.
Right.
In just standard text-to-image, the open-weight FLUX.2 dev, it won 66.6% of the time.
Wow, so 2/3 of the time, human testers just flat out preferred the FLUX.2 image.
Yep. And for context, a great model like Qwen image was at 51.3%. The older FLUX.1 was down at 34.5%. This isn't a small step up, it's a huge leap.
And what about that multi-reference feature? Did they test that?
They did. And in that category, it scored an equally high 63.6% win rate. So it proved the feature really works as advertised.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really interesting for me. This is the core economic argument that could shift the whole industry. The ELO versus cost analysis.
This is the mic drop. This one table. It compares quality, which is measured by an ELO score, against the cost in cents per image.
So lay it out for us. Where does the old guard stand?
Okay, so the top proprietary model, Nano Banana 2, has the highest ELO, around 1063. Excellent quality. But it costs 15 cents. Per image.
15 cents an image. If you're generating thousands of assets for a game, that is a lot of money.
That's $1,500 for 10,000 assets. It adds up fast.
So does this new data just kill that business model? I mean, why would anyone pay 15 cents anymore?
That is the exact question BFL wants everyone to ask. Because their API flagship, FLUX.2 Pro, gets an ELO of about 1048. So almost identical quality.
Okay, and the cost.
3 cents.
So a five-fold price drop for basically the same qual.
It's an irresistible market force. And then there's the open weight version you run yourself.
But dev version.
The dev version. It gets a very respectable ELO of 1029, still playing in the same league. But the estimated cost, when you self-host, is 1 cent per image.
1 cent. So the conclusion for anyone listening is unavoidable. FLUX.2 just has the best price to performance on the market, period.
It completely changes the conversation. It's no longer about, can you afford high-quality AI generation? It's, do you pay 3 cents for convenience, or do you invest in hardware for that 1 cent miracle?
Okay, we've seen the 1 cent miracle, but let's talk about what it takes to get there. What does this all mean for your wallet, practically speaking? Let's break down the API versus running it yourself.
Right, so the API price is stated as roughly 3 cents per megapixel. Sounds simple. But there's a crucial nuance here that's going to catch people out.
Uh-oh.
It's that multi-reference workflow. BFL charges for computation, and that includes processing your input images.
Wait. So if I use 5 reference images to get my character just right, plus my 1 output, I'm paying for 6 images.
You're paying for the pixels of all 6 images.
Exactly. So the very feature that gives me professional control is the one that makes my cost skyrocket.
Precisely. That specialized high-control generation you need could push your actual cost up to 15, maybe even 20 cents per image. That 3-cent base price just multiplied.
Which puts you right back in that expensive Nano Banana territory and makes the argument for self-hosting that much stronger if you're a high-volume user.
Undeniably. Running the dev version is free only after you pay for the hardware. But that binary verse analysis is clear. If you're a pro generating thousands of images a month, the ROI on an RTX 4090 rig, which is about an $1,800 GPU...
It pays for itself pretty fast.
Within months, yeah. Now, if you only need 10 images a week, the API is way cheaper and simpler.
But running a 32 billion parameter model locally can't be easy. What are the technical requirements for that 1 cent price point? This has to be serious hardware.
The ideal setup is brutal. It's complete out of reach for consumers. To run the full model, you'd ideally want between 64 and 85 gigabytes of VRAM.
Okay, so that's NVIDIA H100 server territory. That's not a home PC.
Not at all.
So how are people getting this to run on a consumer card, like an RTX 4090? That only has 24 gigs of VRAM. There's got to be a major workaround here.
There is. It's a real feat of memory engineering, and it takes 2 critical steps. First, you have to use something called FP8 quantization.
Which is what, exactly?
It's a technical process where you basically squeeze the model's data into a smaller container. It cuts the memory needed almost in half with almost no visible loss in quality.
Okay, but that still doesn't get you from 85 gigs down to 24.
Correct. So the second and most critical step is you have to offload the massive text encoder. That Mistral 3 model we talked about, it's the biggest memory hog.
So you run that part of the model somewhere else.
Yep. Creators are offloading it to a remote API or even a second smaller GPU in their machine. You move that out of the main VRAM, and then the core image model can just fit on the 4090.
That sounds like serious work just to get it running. It's not a simple download and click experience.
Not at all. Yeah. And that's why the sources really stress you need specialized backends like Comfy UI to manage all these complex memory tricks effectively.
Okay, before we move on, we have to clear up the licensing. That name, FLUX82 Dev Non-Commercial License, sounds terrifying for any professional, but you can use the images for commercial work, right?
Absolutely correct. And that confusion is everywhere. You, the creator, own the outputs. You have full commercial rights. If you make game assets, album art, whatever, you can sell it.
So the non-commercial part only applies to the model itself.
Yes. The restriction just prevents you from taking the model weights and using them to build your own competing image generation service.
So they're basically saying, go make money with our tool. Just don't build a competitor to us with it.
It's a remarkably permissive license for a model this powerful. It protects their IP while empowering every creator with a GPU.
But every advance has a cost, not just in dollars. What do creators lose by jumping to FLUX.2, especially people who build entire workflows around older models like SDXL?
And this is the bad news. It's a big economic sunk cost for the community. FLUX.2 is a hard break from the past.
A hard break.
All of your old, specialized LoRa's, those little fine-tuning files for specific styles or characters, and all of your SDXL control nets,
Yeah.
they're all incompatible. Useless.
Why? Why can't you just map the old settings onto the new model?
Because the entire architecture is new. It was trained from scratch. The VAE, the part that encodes and decodes the image data, is totally different. The model's internal language for what an image is has changed.
So the whole community ecosystem just got a reset button pushed on it.
That's it. We're back at square one for community resources. Everyone has to train new LoRa's, new adapters. It's the price of this kind of progress. You get incredible new fidelity, but you lose the infrastructure you spent years building.
So let's bring this all to a close. What's the final verdict here on FLUX.2?
The verdict is that FLUX.2 is an industrial power tool. It's not a toy. It provides production-ready pixels, meaning it's reliable and consistent. It sets a whole new standard for fidelity and control at a price point that is just unbeatable.
But to get that amazing 1 cent per image price, you have to be willing to put in serious engineering effort and buy serious hardware. You're trading money for complexity or complexity for convenience.
This leap really does feel monumental, and I guess it leaves us with one final thought to mull over. Given that fine-tuning a massive 32 billion parameter model is so much harder and more expensive than it used to be,
Much more, yeah.
will these incredibly high compute requirements actually slow down the community? I mean, will we see fewer of those custom specialized models because the barrier to entry is just so much higher now? It could fundamentally change the open source creative ecosystem we've gotten used to.
That shift from easy customization for everyone to high-cost customization for a few, that might be the defining challenge of this next generation of AI tools.
Something to think about as you explore the weights. Thank you for joining us for this analysis of the source material. We hope you feel well informed on the capabilities and, more importantly, the economics of FLUX.2. We'll catch you next time.